Hello, everyone. This is Linda Ferguson,
And Karen Nelson Bell.
and welcome to another episode of Platinum Prime for Life, your show where Karen and I share with you our tips, our tricks, and our life hacks that allow us to live a Platinum Prime life. So, for today's episode, we are going to do a book review. And in this case, it's a very impactful book review for many of you. So I'm actually going to turn this show over to Karen since she's got lots of info on this particular book.
Thanks very
Take it
much,
away.
Linda. When I found this book through an actual webinar that I went to, and the webinar was recommended to me by a friend who said, "Hey, you're into senior things and you're into real estate. This might be a good combo for you." And I went to the webinar, and I really was inspired by it. And the person who delivered the webinar, their business partner, is the one who wrote the book. So I said, "Well, I'm going to read the book because it would just give me more data." And it turned out that it was really good for you, Linda, because it talks about how to manage resources in your senior years so that if something bad happens, you have the ability to get the care that you need. And you look at it from a point of view, I think, probably of there's a long-term care insurance. That might be where you come in. For me, it might be because I used to operate 3 senior homes, residential care facilities when I was in Vegas. And I have my attention on seniors because I play in these senior facilities all the time. So I thought, wow, this might be something really good for you and me to at least dive in and see what we could see. So I got the Kindle version. I typically get a Kindle book, and then if I like the book, I'll get the paperback or hardback version because I do like to have the actual book around. So this is the Kindle version. I don't have the paperback; hasn't arrived yet, but it's called. Can you see that? Can you see it well enough?
Yeah.
Paying for long-term care. How do you pay for long-term care? And it's written by a guy named Ben Rao. Now, what's really funny is that this guy, Ben Rao, he is from the area where I was born and raised. He's from Kansas City. And where the company is about 5 miles from where I lived from the time I was 12 till I was 22. So it was really fun. So I had an immediate liking for the guy because, well, he's from Kansas City. And I think Midwestern folks from Kansas City are generally pretty cool. So I listened to this program, and what it was how to find ways to make sure that you are cared for, because we've been focusing on it, Linda. You and I have been focusing on it. I want to make super seniors. I want them to not need long-term care. I want them to be at home and vigorous and smart and tending their own gardens for their whole life. And you want everybody, because we're in platinum. That's the super senior part of me, right? And you and I have said we want it to be a platinum prime type of lifestyle. And that's what we're focused on. But this is kind of for, okay, well, not everybody gets to do that. And the reality of it is that,
Can I jump in? I'm
yeah.
going to jump in here for a minute because what this book addresses is something that I deal with literally every day
Oh
in
my
the
gosh.
business that I'm in. And so here's what's beautiful about the program that Karen's getting certified in. What happens as you age is very often your parents are still alive and they're aging ahead of you. So you go through life, you have your parents, and then there's you, and then there's the eventuality that all of us will experience, which is death. I mean, horrible as that is as a thought for someone, it's one of the things you cannot escape: death and taxes. So, from where I sit, we have Medicare insurance, we have long term care insurance, we have disability insurance. Insurance is the thing that you invest in when something unexpected happens, or you plan for that time when you're going to need that thing. So there's two times that you want insurance. One, to cover your ass if something unexpected happens so that you have protection in place and you've just been paying for it a little bit at a time. And honestly, that type of insurance, most of us are hopeful that we never have to use it, but it's really good if it's there, medical insurance, etc. However, we're all going to expire. And so having something in place for that is really important because it's going to happen, and it's going to happen to us all. And no one can predict how that's going to happen unless you're sitting on death row and you know that your time will be up. You don't know exactly what's going to happen. You don't know how healthy you're going to be, and so on. So, Karen shared with me the program that she's working on, and I'm going to tout it because it's actually a program of compassionate help for not just a person entering long term care, but for the families that all get involved in what happens when mom or dad needs long-term care. Who's going to take care of them? What's the plan for that? Do you want to be a burden to your children when you're old and infirmed? And maybe if you're a married couple, one or the other passes before you. What do you have in place for that? So those things, which you don't necessarily want to think about, you should think about, and think about it in a way where you go, okay, Karen's certification is helping families at no cost to the families really evaluate a situation so that they have a good idea of what all their choices are. Like, where are we now? What choices do I have at this point? What are my needs right now? What are my choices? So, with that, and with taking over everything, I just want to say it's done so beautifully and done at a point where people are beside themselves. You know, mom has Alzheimer's. She's falling. She's wandering. I keep getting interrupted because some neighbor caught her down the street and I can't be there. I work. What am I going to do? That's the area that Karen is addressing. Over to you, Karen.
Well, thank you. I actually finished my, I completed the coursework. It's many hours of coursework that you do, and I got certified this morning. I finished my coursework this morning, so I am a certified senior transition specialist. And there's three things that we can help with. We can help with placing what is the right place to go. You probably, we are mostly dealing, like you said, with adult children. The adult child you could be dealing with could be 80 and have a 95-year-old uh, mother that they're needing to find a place for. And yesterday
Mhm.
I was performing at a senior care place, and there was this wonderful 95-year-old lady named Mary Jane, and she was a firecracker, and she loved what we were playing. And I took a picture with her. You know, God, God bless you. She was in independent living and she didn't need any extra help. But what if she needed, so I take that back. She was in assisted living because she had a walker. She doesn't walk real well. She doesn't stand real well. And she just needed that. But she was 95. And so we're going to be dealing with the adult children, might be 85. I could be, if I had my parents still alive, I could be one of those adult children. So I give them all of the options of what kind of care they need. And are they going to do they have insurance? If they don't, what resources do they have, and where can they go? Can they get, only two choices. You either are doing private pay, which means you're going to pay for where you're going to live, or you get Medicaid. And Medicaid is a whole different ball of wax that I can help them find their way to Medicaid, but my specialty is for the people who are looking for a place to go that's a place where you could actually have a good quality of life. and to help choose, and not to choose a location based on because it had the prettiest chandelier in the lobby, but because it had the right programs for your mom, and because she loves to play bridge and they happen to have a bridge club at that particular place. Or that I've gone on and I have resources to find out, are there complaints against that community? Just because it's pretty does not mean that their level of care is good, because unfortunately we've heard horror stories. The other place where I can come in is actually because I've been in real estate all my life, to the point of having written a book about a bestseller about it. This is my hat. I used to have this. Gladys and I both had these hats. I buy houses, and I'd wear this all the time, and people would just say, "You do? Well, I'll sell you my house," and that's how I would get it. But then I got into the senior thing, so I have both of my identities. I have my real estate identity, my senior identity on. So I am able to help the person evaluate what to do with their house. Now, they might not have any equity at all. And in that case, I can give them recommendations of what they could do. I have a way that I can have them uh, stay in the home. They can actually sell it to me, and I can figure out how they can stay in the home. But home care is not a good solution in general. Having somebody come in, it's so terribly expensive. It's usually not the right solution. Most of the time, 90% of the time, the seniors that I'm going to be working with have equity in their homes. I heard a statistic, I don't know if it's true, but I heard that 90% of the people that get referred through my referral program actually own their homes outright. So I can turn the equity in the home into care. It's not that I'm turning it into money to make a
If
person
it's
rich.
needed, if it's needed.
If it's needed, if they
Yeah,
need, if
but
they know that
that's
they
if
can't.
it's needed. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Only if it's needed. And then the other thing is that the
So
one big barrier is, what do you do with all of their stuff? And that's where I can really help. So there's three prongs to it: is how do you handle, okay, mom's moving, but she was, we don't call her a hoarder, we call her an aggressive collector. Maybe she was an aggressive collector, and we have to deal with that. And I have the means by which to deal with that. So help them transition, and if I can't help them, I can give them resources of other people who can. Because it isn't, I'm not able to help every
let's
single
just touch
person.
over it again. Yeah. A typical scenario, and we've seen this many times, you and I, is someone is getting to a point where they can't live easily on their own. So they're falling, they're stumbling, they're having to call their kids, and they're too proud to admit that they need help. Very often, men more than women will fall into this category of, I've always done it this way, that's fine. Now, so then the kids are like, well, we don't want you to come live with us necessarily because we're not set up for it. What are we going to do? And then mom or dad says, I don't want to go into a home. That's where people go when they die. I don't want to do
Nobody
that.
wants to go.
And the kids
Yeah.
are like, well, yeah, let's look. Let's just look. No, I'm not going to do it. Right. The challenge there is you have parents that don't want to take advice from their kids. They don't want help from their kids because they've always been the parent. And so they feel even weird having to ask for help. That's a thing.
But let
So
me
what
just
you
say,
want is like, yeah,
that
go ahead.
they will change their mind when the doctor says you can't go home, you can't stay at home. They've been in the hospital, they've had a fall, and the doctor says so. A lot of times they will listen to the doctor. They won't
Or
listen to
they
their
will
kids.
listen
They
to
will listen
someone
when the
like
doctor says
you.
you can't go home.
I got it. But very often, and I've just seen this, when I was doing relationship counseling, I would give advice to a couple that they'd been giving themselves the same advice for a long time. But because it came from the couple and they had their own couple dynamics going on, it was rejected.
Yeah.
And then I would have usually the wife say, oh my gosh, he's so thrilled about what you guys just went over, or the advice you gave him that he's going to take. But I've been telling him the same thing for years. The difference is I'm not his wife, right? I'm not, he's not taking advice from me all day. So, and it's the same thing with parents. Very often, it isn't that the children aren't giving them good advice, it's that it's the children giving them the advice. If they have someone who is an expert at these things, who's really knows the field of senior transition, you're going to transition from how it is to how it will be and do it in a way that's the best for you.
Right.
That person knows the questions to ask, isolates the challenges that whoever they're talking to at the moment is going through, right? And really, just in a very compassionate way, allows them to see things. And even if they're rejecting going to a home, you can very often just get them an invitation to go and say, well, let's just check it out. Or you can explore. There's a term called aging at home. And that just is, what are the solutions? If you don't want to leave your house, if you think mom's like so stressed out that if you move her from here at all, she's just going to die in a week. What does it cost? Aging in place. Aging in place, you're not going to move her. What is that? Well, you have resources for that, I know. So you are the resourceful person for that.
But there is a statistic
And then,
that is important to
yeah.
know, is that aging in home with the care is very, very expensive. And it usually, the lifespan of that activity is usually 6 months, because at the end of 6 months, it becomes untenable and unrealistic. So that's an interesting statistic that I didn't know until I got educated, that staying at home is the least ideal of all of the circumstances.
Yeah. And I've seen staying at home work really, really well. But then at the end of that period, there is a period where who's ever aging at home is going to die. And so what do you do then? And that's where you can continue to help. So the help can be a continuous one. From my side of things, my conversations are usually with guys that are younger, because when you get older and you want long-term care insurance, no insurance company is going to cover you for it
That's right. No, it's not
because you
going to
need
happen.
it. You don't
Yeah.
get insurance when you need it. You have to get insurance before you need it. And the
That's right.
closer you are to possibly needing insurance, the more expensive that insurance is. So it's better when you look at long-term care that you look at it at an earlier age and plan for it.
That's right.
So between Karen and I, we cover a wide swath of all the things that you might need, looking at later stages of your life, through end of life, through passing on your legacy, to however you want to divide up what you've acquired your whole life, including your knowledge and your goodwill. There are ways to do that.
Yeah. And by the
So the
way,
book
what when you
primarily yeah.
when you reach out for somebody to help you, be sure to find somebody. Don't just turn to a realtor that's just, some neighbor that's a realtor, or turn to somebody that you can perceive has some kindness and compassion, because to be in this field, if you're just in it to make a living, this is not the right place for you. Linda has so much kindness pouring
Yeah.
out of her. She just cares about other
I've done
human
it.
beings. She knows it real well, and it's just, reach out to somebody that you like. Reach out to somebody that you perceive has your true best interests at heart.
Right. And also realize that it's not an all or nothing situation, right? So the very first thing that you need to do, if you either have aging parents or you yourself are concerned that you're not able to live well on your own, is get an assessment of where you're at right now or where they're at right now, And then what are the options going
Yeah.
forward? What are
Perfect.
all the different choices that you can make? Knowing that if you make a choice and you go, well, I don't like that one, or this one's not working well,
Yeah.
you can always go back and change your mind. It's not an all or nothing. If I make this move now, boom. So, but it's opening up the conversation that will just take a whole lot of stress off you. And if you're a caregiver, I heard a statistic that was eye opening. What's the toll on children who are caregivers for their parents, or spouses who are caregivers for their spouse in the case of Alzheimer's or something like that, memory care?
Tell me. Tell me. I don't know the statistic. Tell me.
Well, I heard, oh, it's huge health toll. In fact, the story that I was listening to was um, a woman had her mother and father. Her mother had beginning stages of dementia and it was getting worse, and her dad was taking care of her mom. And her mom was getting more and more into later stages of Alzheimer's, which was not recognizing him, being combative, couldn't get around easily. So at one of the doctor visits, her dad was there with his wife, and the doctor said, while you're here, why don't we just do a blood draw on you? It's just about time. So the doctor drew the dad's blood, called him that night and said, I'll call him Joe. Joe, you have renal failure happening, meaning his kidneys were failing, brought on by all the stress that was going on. Joe wound up needing care himself and living only a year from the point of that diagnosis. The kids had to step in and they were like so stressed. They worked every day for 2 years straight, never able to take time off, even though they had caregivers going into the house to take care of their mom. Caregivers, in general, sometimes they just don't show up, or when they take vacations or whatever. So the kids had to like be ready to jump. And Karen, I know you know this because you just went through it with a close friend of yours, where you were the person on call when help was needed. You just have to go. So after 2 years of that, the family put the mom in, what is it? It's a memory care facility that was very, very highly rated. And mom lived another 2 years, but she lived another 2 years surrounded by people that she actually liked. She had a community. She was never alone, and she got the medical care that she needed. It was a good
Wow.
story. And the stress level went down. And the daughter said, instead of having to be a caregiver, I could go be
A
a
daughter.
daughter
Yeah.
and give her massages, paint her
Yeah.
nails, and do all those little things that I love doing for my mom.
What a wonderful result
So,
to a sad story. Yeah.
yeah, or just a way where you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So, talking to someone like Karen, who's a what is it? Senior Transition
Senior
Specialist?
Transition Specialist,
Is that the title?
STS. Yeah, that's
Okay,
the designation. Yeah. So
good. Is
yeah, that was our book review.
first steps. That's right.
There's a lot in the book, but what we talked about today goes beyond what was in the book. But the book is a good beginning place. It's a great starting place. Yeah. So that was it for our
Good.
book review. Yeah.
Uh,
We talked about a lot of things.
yeah. But these are important topics. So because they are, and because I just go on about it from the side of insurance where I see people needing to use this stuff. I
Yeah.
also talk to people who can't afford it. They've never thought of it. They're now living on Social Security alone, and it's rough on them.
Yeah.
And where their choices have been minimized quite a bit.
Yeah.
Okay, any final piece of advice, or let's actually, even though it's a kind of a heavy subject,
Well, from the point of view
it's
of
a good one to
Platinum
think
Prime,
about.
the point of view of Platinum Prime is don't wait. Start now to be as healthy as you can be. Let's try to be the one that stays healthy, and you're still out tending the garden, and then if you're a guy, you're out mowing the lawn when you're 105. You know, I meet people at these homes that are over 100, and so let's be those people. Let's be those people from Platinum Prime and Super Senior.
That's
That's
right.
what we want to do. And if not, Linda and I are here to help. When those transition times
There you
comes,
go.
we are a referral source for you, both of us. Yeah.
There you go. All right. All right. With that, we're going to say goodbye. Have a wonderful week, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.